inspired? Who's inspired? Charla, thank you so much. This event has been fabulous, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Thank you for being here.
It's awesome. And I've watched the energy. Who's been here since first thing this morning? Right? Have you just felt this energy rising up? And now we came as strangers and we're all friends? You notice that? Women are so good at that. So my topic today is what's stopping you. Have you ever actually sat down and thought about it? You know? I find people are in two categories. They're either, and you can raise your hand if you're in this category, don't know what they want to be when they grow up, right? I've been there. Or they have a dream, but they just don't know how to get from here to there. Who's in that category? You have a dream, you just don't know how to do it. So I'm hoping that by telling my story today, that I can inspire you, regardless of whether you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, or you have a dream and you don't know how to get there, that by the time I'm finished talking, you can have some of my unstoppability spill over to you, and you can start achieving your dreams and living the life you're meant to live. So back in 2007, and it's so nice to have a crowd that I'm talking to that remembers 2007. I was speaking at an event a couple of weeks ago, and they're millennials. I'm like, some of you don't know 2007. So back in 2007, I was one of those people that you love to hate, you know? I had everything. I had an amazing job working as a top-performing, award-winning financial advisor for the largest financial institution in Canada, making $1 gazillion and having a great time. I was married to the love of my life for almost 25 years, and I had 3 outstanding children who were great athletes and great students. What is there not to like, right? Everybody thought I had it all. And from the outside, I did, but not on the inside. There was something missing. Have any of you felt that? Where you feel like you have it all, but there's some space inside of here that just, there's not enough shoes or wine to fill, right? You've tried, I tried, believe me. And if you want any recommendations on red wine, I can give you a few, right? So I felt like my life was really good for everybody but me. So it was really good for my kids because I had a very flexible job. So I'd go see a kid's play, go see a client. Go see a basketball game, go see a client. I would go to an arena, then I'd go see a client, right? Perfect for kids. I was the best mom in the world. I went to everything. And I was making a lot of money, so my husband was very happy. There was no pressure on him. I was actually making more money than he was at the time. And my company loved me because I was making them a lot of money. Everybody was happy, but me. And I felt like my dreams were calling me, and I was declining the call. Because if I accepted them, then somebody in my life was going to be impacted, and probably negatively. So I thought, I will do it when my kids get older, when my kids move out of the house. I'll do it when I have this much money in the bank account. Anyone in that space? When I have this amount of money, I'm going to live my life and pursue my dream. And so when I was asked by some people if I wanted to go in and partner and start a new financial planning company, I thought, maybe this was the answer. Maybe I was in the right arena, but I was in the wrong framework. Anybody here work for a large corporation? Okay, so have you found that creativity and innovation isn't something that they really encourage? I'd have all these ideas, I'd get all excited to go in and say, hey, we could be doing this, and they'd go, I don't think so. Or it would be a year later when they even considered it, and I was already on to the next idea. So I thought, hey, my own business, I'd be able to control what I was going to do. I would be able to use all of these creative ideas. And so I thought, I have to really think about this. Does anyone know the percentage of startups that fail in the first year? Right? I knew. I was a financial advisor. I helped other people in startups. So I wanted to make sure that I was set up for success. So what I did was, I first put a bunch of money in the bank account in case things didn't work out exactly how I timed them. Then I went to the clients that I had and said, hey, if I move, would you move with me? And they all said, Darlene, You're our financial advisor. We would never trust anybody else with our money. I was like, okay, this sounds good to me. And at the same time, we were building our dream home. Has anyone built a home? They're designed it and built it? I would recommend it. It's hard, but I had this vision for about 3 or 4 years, and then I sketched it on a piece of paper. And I took that piece of paper and I took it to an architect. And he made my little sketch this beautiful drawing. And then he took it to a builder. And this builder just made this thing that I had in my head become a reality, brick by brick. It was raised from the ground. It was the first time I've ever taken something that was inside my head and actually saw it being built up. And so I was sitting there at the time going, we got to make sure everything works out, right? So we put up the house for sale that we were in, sold in 3 days. The closing date dovetailed perfectly when we were going to move into our new home. And I was like, this is meant to be. Everything's falling into place. So if you hated me before, you really hate me now. Because life is perfect. And we opened our doors. We were living in Windsor, Ontario at the time. Anybody from Windsor? Yay, a Windsor person! And we were living in Windsor. We opened our doors, and not long after, Ford announced that they were laying off 1,100 workers. Windsor's a pretty small town, and it's an automotive town. So when that announcement happened, it was like a tsunami of fear just covered it. It was like, have you ever played freeze tag? It was like everyone just stopped, and nobody could move. It was like, oh my gosh, how is this going to affect me? If I don't work for Ford, I might work for GM or Chrysler or one of the tool and die shops. Everybody just stopped. And so the first thing that happened was my husband was one of the 1,100 people. And we had figured out, before I signed up for this business, that his income could cover all of our household bills, which is one of the reasons why I said yes to the business. That financial security, gone. The guy who bought our house, one of the 1,100 workers. He backed out of the deal. I was like, you can't back out of the deal, we have a contract. And our lawyer said, look, by the time you chase this guy down and you do anything, he doesn't have a job, just put the house back up for sale. I thought, okay, it sold for 3 days. In 3 days, I'll put it back up for sale again. It took 12 months to sell again. And it sold for 30% less than the original offer. So if there's any accountants in the room, this is really easy math for you. Expenses going up exponentially. 2 mortgages, 2 sets of taxes, 2 sets of utility bills. You have this business expense, and income going down drastically. Because you know all of those people that said, I will follow you to the ends of the earth, Darlene. You are our financial advisor. Started saying things like, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to affect me, so I want to wait. I just want to wait. You know, the freeze tag game, everybody was just... So I thought in the first 3 months that we opened our doors, I was going to bring $5 million across, because that's the paperwork I had signed. It was closer to 500,000. Yeah, ooh. It felt like, ooh, believe me. And I remember somewhere down the line, we had a meeting in the boardroom of all the partners. And they said to me, Darlene, you have to do something or we're going to go down. And have you ever been in a meeting before where you try to say all the right things? You know, you're lying through your teeth, but you're trying to say all the right things. So I was saying, I got this. I got no plan B. I've got it. I've got all these ideas. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. No worries. Everybody settle down. I've got this. And I can remember walking out into the hall and closing that door behind me and almost falling to my knees because I didn't have it. I didn't know how I was going to save this company. I really had no idea what I was going to do. But I grew up in a family where suck it up, buttercup is the motto. There's 7 kids in my family, and my father passed away when I was 9. My mother had arthritis her whole life, and when you look at her and all she did, it's like, how can you complain? You know, so we just sucked it up. So I thought, okay, put my head down, I'm going to work. I'm just going to work as hard as I can, and I'm going to save this business. And I did, and I came up with all of these ideas to bring in different clients, and we looked at different products to bring in, and I just started to see a light at the end of the tunnel. and the stock market crashed. And we lost almost 50% of the value of the stock market almost overnight. Anybody remember that? Yes. I remember it well. And at that point in time, the guys on CNN are saying, the world is going to collapse. I'd been through crashes before. This was completely different. Countries were declaring bankruptcy. It was scary. And I thought, how can I take this small little company that's barely breathing through this period of time that's unprecedented? Because even though I may look like it, I was not alive in 1929. So I didn't experience the one that was just a little bit worse than the one in 2008. So I just kept at it. And I kept at it. And I thought, if I have to go down, I'll go down, but I'm not going down without really giving it all I've got. And I worked, and I worked, and I worked. But eventually, I came to the end of my cash and my credit. So now it's not just the business that's in jeopardy, it's my dream home. The thing that I had envisioned for years, a piece of my heart was on the line. The family home. Business is business. Home is a whole different story. And so I thought, I'm a businesswoman. I worked for a bank. I know how to talk to these people. I'm going to go in and we're going to come up with some sort of creative solution to get me through this period of time until I could really get the business going again. And the bank was pretty creative. I was impressed because the next day I got a letter by registered mail that said, we are starting foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure. I'm a financial advisor. Foreclosure. I come from a family that you pay your bills. So it wasn't just the losing my dream home, it was the shame. It was the shame of being put in a position where I'm supposed to know this stuff. I'm supposed to do better than the average person. And I have screwed up, and now I have to go tell my kids and my husband, we are moving. And I wish I could tell you that that was the worst thing that happened. But it wasn't. Shortly after, my sister announced that she had inoperable brain and lung cancer. So, I'm sitting there, packing up my dream home, and pretty much doing it myself, because at this point in time, my husband, I love him dearly, and we're still married. We'll be celebrating 35 years this year. But at that point in time, well, you could clap louder than that. It's 35 years. Come on. That's a long 35 years. I was 12 when I got married. And so here I was, and I was packing up our house and trying to process the fact that my sister was dying. But my sister, my sister, she decided she was going to have a miracle. She decided this was it. She was going to beat this diagnosis, and she was going to get a miracle. And I thought, man, I'm hopping on that bandwagon. Because one, I wanted her to get a miracle. I wanted her to beat this diagnosis, but I also knew that if she got her miracle, there was a hope for me, right? If she can beat this diagnosis, maybe I can get out of this mess. And so for months, I supported her dream of beating her diagnosis. But in September 2010, she passed away. And both of our dreams of a miracle passed away on the very same day. And I no longer had a reason to get out of bed. It was over. I was in this dark, damp cave that didn't have any exit signs. And I hope, but I have a feeling there's a few people who know the space I'm talking about. And it's lonely, and it's the place where you give up. It's the last place you go mentally before you give up. And I remember at some point in time, and I can't tell you the date, I can't tell you how long I was in that cave, but this thought came across that if my sister was alive today, she would kick my ass for laying around perfectly healthy when she fought for every last moment and every last breath. And here I was, laying around in pajamas, doing nothing. And I thought, I am not honoring her by doing this, because I'm laying there and watching my life go by when she fought so hard for hers. And I thought, something has to change. But I didn't know what to do. And at that time, there was some talk about the power of gratitude. And I thought, okay, I've got nothing else. Let's try it. And I still remember the very first day of my gratitude practice. I remember sitting there looking at my life and going, what do I have to be grateful for? I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I don't have anything, I didn't have anything to be thankful for. And then I thought, you know what? Through this whole time that I'm commiserating and beating myself up, I was breathing in and I was breathing out without even thinking about it. My brain and my body was just taking care of it. And yet my sister, she had to think about it. And she had to struggle for every breath. And here I am, I'm doing it. And that was the very first thing that I was grateful for. And no matter where you are in your life right now, if you can breathe without thinking about it, you have a shot at anything. And that's the attitude I took. As soon as I realized, if I'm still breathing and my heart's still beating, I have a shot. And in 2 weeks of my gratitude practice, the lights came up in the cave and I saw the exit sign. 2 weeks. And I made it out. And when I made it out, I realized, Darlene, your dream has been, since you were this high, to be a published author, and you have a book. Are you a complete idiot? Because you could be living your dreams right now. Here's what happens when you lose it all. You become fearless, because the worst thing has happened. And me losing it all is one of the things that I'm most grateful for, because it gave me the freedom to pursue my dreams. I had nothing left to lose. And so I wrote, the book is called Lessons from the Depression, Eliminating Debt the Old-Fashioned Way. That would be the financial advisor in me. And it became a bestseller. And I thought, wow. So I wrote a second book, The Promise. And then I got in Chicken Soup for the Soul. And then people started saying, hey, well, how'd you write your book? How'd you get in Chicken Soup for the Soul? Can you help me write your book? So then I started helping people write their own stories. And then I started talking to entrepreneurs about using market-based stories, because when I was a financial advisor, how many people, when you talk money, it's like talking Italian. It's the same thing. You start talking about money concepts and you just don't understand. So I would use stories to help people get some education about financial planning and financial concepts. And so when I asked people, they go, well, I don't know. So I'd help them come up with a story to help them market their business. And then I said, well, what's your why? I don't know. Like, why are you in this business? Because if you know your why, if you know that story, it's a differentiator and it's a connector. So if you know that and you can communicate that, you can do better in business. And then I realized that we have an epidemic of people in this world who no longer even know who they are, because they've been buried under other people's expectations and experiences. And somewhere along the way, like I did, they start living their life for other people. And if you do that long enough, you just forget who you are. And so I realized I had to take one step back further, and I needed to help people really figure out, who are you? What do you really want to do? And come up with a strategy on how to do it. Because we only have one life. And you should be living it for you. But this is what I get. Well, I'm going to wait till the kids get older. I'm going to wait till I have this amount of money in the bank account. And I'm going to wait till I retire. I'm going to wait until my spouse retires. I mean, the same list of things that I did. And I told you that I want you to become unstoppable. So I'm going to share what we did last year. I decided I want to write a book for Canada's 150th anniversary of Confederation. And I wanted to write these inspiring stories because I wanted kids in Canada to know that you could do anything and be anything in this country. You don't have to go anywhere else. We've got it all here. And I realized that Canadians are humble. Has anyone figured that out yet? So I thought I was going to do it from my office and with my phone. But people go, oh, you don't want to hear my story. It's nothing. I grew up on an island off the coast of Newfoundland because my dad was a lightkeeper for a lighthouse, but you don't want to hear my story. It's not that important. So I realized I needed to go on the road. So the first people that I told were very close to me, that I had this dream about going on the road for a book, said it's logistically impossible. Right? How many people have shared the dream with somebody and somebody said, you can't do that? Has anyone had that experience? Or even better, how are you going to do that? And they don't even want the answer. They're saying, how are you going to do that? And I decided in that moment, if I had to hitchhike by myself across Canada, I was going to do the tour. And so with the help of friends and family and strangers, my husband and I traveled in an RV across Canada more than 30,000 kilometers from as south as Point Pelee all the way to Inuvik, Northwest Territories, which is above the Arctic Circle. For those of you who've never heard of it before, I had never heard about it until I had went. From Tofino to Cape Spear, which is as far east as you can go on this continent. I didn't have the money. My husband did not have the vacation time. We did not have an RV. It was logistically impossible until I decided it was not logistically impossible. That if I wanted to, badly enough, and if I was willing to ask for help, I could do it. And if I would have believed them, I would have missed out on one of the best experiences of my life. And I would have missed out on the miracles that happened along the way. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something because they're full of shit. They have no idea of what you're capable of. Only you know what you're capable of. So you did that visualization this morning with Odette, and you all took that time to really think about where you want to be in the future, who you want to be with, where you want to be. I want you to think about that. And I want you to know there's only one thing you have to do. You just need a step. Because that's what I did across Canada. I would take a step, and I just believe that the path would become open for me. I would take another step, and I wasn't afraid to sleep in strangers' houses. I wasn't afraid to have lunch or dinner with people I didn't know. And eventually, we made it across this country. I am not special, even though sometimes I like to think that. Coming from a family of 7, you got to hang on to something. You're never special in a family of 7. And so know that this is not me being different than you. I am no different than you. I am no better than you, I'm no smarter than you, and I'm not braver than you. I just made a decision. And that's all you have to do, is make a decision. And so if you need help with the first step or the second step or the third step, I can help you. If you want to ask me any questions, I will answer them freely, because I was given so much by so many people. For me, it is an honor to give back. And if I've inspired one of you to say, this is it, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care what reality looks like. I don't care whether I have the accreditation right now or the money in the bank or anything else. If one of you can say, I'm going to choose my life for me, because it's your life, then my job is done. Thank you.